How are you anyway? You're doing well?
Yes, I'm doing really well.
Oh, I'm glad. How's the heat over there? Not too bad now? A little more bearable?
It is. Well, no, not really. Hi, this is Steve Grimmett, and you're listening and possibly watching Metal Mania.
That was great.
Should you want me to do that again? Because it was pretty
it's up
shit.
to you, but honestly, that's fine. But
I wasn't fluent, so let's do it again.
Okay, sure. Let's go for it.
Okay. Hi, this is Steve Grimmett, and you're watching and listening to Metal Mania. My uncle had a band. My dad played guitar. My mum used to sing, and I was singing in my bedroom one day, and my girlfriend came and said, "Oh, you're really good." And then 2 weeks later, she'd got me an audition with a local band, and it all started from there, really. I joined a local band in a village near me, and maybe a year after that, started a band called Medusa, and that was it. It was we were biting at record companies' doors, and they were actually coming to see us, although we never got signed. But that's what started it all, really. And people say to me, "How the hell do you get a deal? How do you do this? How do you do that?" There is never one thing that you can do to ensure you get a deal, and I've proved that to myself a number of times. So yeah, that's basically how I started it. Oh, what's the name of? He's recently died, actually. I can't remember the guy's name, but it was in the 70s. I went to my first concert, and again I really want to do this. And the first single I bought was a Thin Lizzy song, "Whiskey in a Jar," and that started off my sort of, well, they're not really metal, but that started off my rock interests. I was into all sorts of things, really, but the biggest influence I've ever had was Elton John, and it's his fault that I sing. But I think him and Bernie Taupin, and I'm glad they're back together, working together, were the songwriters of the, well, let's say millennium, really, because they are stunning. The stuff they've come up with is stunning, and I love him and what he does. So much so, my son actually took me to one of his concerts because I'd never been, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. But my mother gave me the family Bible. It's quite a big, heavy old thing, and in there's blank pages for writing the family tree, and way off on my mother's side, there is a family called the Dwights. Well, that's Elton John's real name, Reginald Dwight, and he's actually in my family Bible. So we are not directly, but we are kind of related. So that was a big find. Well, basically, we moved to this village I was talking to you about, Evesham, in Worcestershire, and we used to go to the local pub, and we all did. All the music makers and lovers and that used to go there. And I met Lance Perkins, the guitarist, and basically we just said, look, let's get a band together. Let's go really heavy metal, kind of like Judas Priest. Well, I was like, oh, okay, never heard of those, but okay, no problem. We did that. And then Lance was insistent on doing a Judas Priest cover. And we did that, but I was like, well, I've got to listen first to what I'm getting myself into. And I thought, oh, this guy can really sing. And I opened my mouth and I could do the same thing. So we did it. The song was called Starbreaker. And so Lance sort of brought me in totally into the metal scene. And I'm still friends with him now, actually, to be fair. And but then the breakup of the band, I think, was down to the fact that, we had several record companies come and see us, but they never signed us. So I think that, in a way, well, it broke up the band. Lance Perkins and Eddie Starr joined a band called Wrathchild. You may or may not have heard of them, and they parted their ways. And that was it for me. And I was talking to my dad, and I said, you know what? There's only one band I'd want to join around here, and that's Grim Reaper, because they were already going before I joined them. And lo and behold, I get a phone call from Nick Bocott, and he was absolutely shit-faced. And I swear, hope I can say that.
Yeah,
but anyway, yeah. And he just babbled, and I'm sure he was dribbling on the other end of the phone as well. But and then he phoned me back the next day and said, look, I'm sorry about that. He said, what I did phone you up for was I want you to join me in Grim Reaper. And I was like, sure. And that was my introduction to Grim Reaper, and we went on from strength to strength to strength from there. It was great. It was a ride. It was great. And then we started doing different things. We didn't gig a whole lot in this country. We never have, and I still don't to this day. But I think the most significant thing that happened to us was we won a local Battle of the Bands competition, and I'd never do one of those again in my life. Not that I have, but it was the worst. It was terrible on the nerves. But yeah, we did it. We won it, and we got 24 hours in a 24-track studio, which was local to us. And so we did that. But in between us winning that the competition, I did a single for a band called Chateau. They'd lost their singer, and they were committed to doing this particular single for EBONY Records. So I went and did that for them, and then we won the competition, and we did our demo. And I had another call from the guys in Chateau. Said, look, we still can't find a singer, but we're scheduled to do an album. Would you mind doing the album? So I did the album with basically in mind working in a 24-track studio for real, because I hadn't done it before. Yes, I did the competition thing, but I hadn't spent long at all in a 24-track studio. So that's what I did it for. But everybody thinks I joined Chateau and I was, it was in the band, and I have to correct them every time. No, I wasn't in Chateau, I just decked for them, and but I still see the album turning up every few gigs and have to sign it. But that's great, you know.
Well, I think it's good to have fans that appreciate all of your body of work, not just with one band. And obviously that's you on that album. So that is a part of you, isn't it?
Yeah. And I enjoyed doing it, you know, and I really got on well with the guys. I don't speak to any of them, but the drummer now, Andre. I do speak to him every so often, but I don't know where the other guys have gone. But yeah, it was a good time, and it did teach me a lot. And also, to continue the Reaper story, was I took the demo that we did from winning the competition to Ebony Records when I did the album for Chateau, and 6 weeks later we were signed up, ready to go with Grim Reaper with Ebony Records, and that's basically how we started recording our albums. I mean, I think he was a crook, but he was astute. You know, he knew that there was something about what he was listening to, and couldn't wait to sign us. And it all proved far beyond our dreams. You know, I would phone the label every week, once a week, and see how the album was doing. And, you know, it was selling by the truckload, to be fair. And then it got under import to the States. And it got into a record store called Zigzag Records. And the guy that owned the store took the album to a guy called Walter O'Brien. Walter had his own label at the time called Combat Records, and he wanted to sign us, but Ebony didn't want independent label to sign us. He wanted a major to sign us. So Walter took it to RCA, and basically that's how we ended up on RCA as well. It's all, you know, it's like I said before, you know, it's wheels within wheels, and anything can happen anytime. You know, you can't say for one, you know, for sure any one thing is going to get you signed. You know, you just don't know. With the resurgence of me doing Grim Reaper stuff, I've played all over the world, you know, and we will be doing stuff next year that we haven't, or I certainly haven't done before as well. With Grim Reaper, I've been, Japan is on the list. I've got a guy in New Zealand who wants to bring us out to Australia and New Zealand. Oh, and I want to try and tie all that in, because Japan by air is not that far away from you guys. So I want to try and tie all that in. But Europe, I have been all over Europe since sort of starting the Steve Grimmett's Grim Reaper, and so played in countries I never ever dreamt I would have done. So it's great, really. It's all round really good. I love doing it. And, you know, it's certainly not for the money, because I've never received a penny from RCA. I've been fighting that now for about 15 years. And I'm just about got to the point now where they've got to pay up. And so I'm not a millionaire, and I don't really care about that. I just enjoy it so much, and going out and meeting my fans. And I love that. I absolutely love doing that. and we did a thing called the 70,000 tons of metal. It's a cruise concert, and we were, I think it was our first show, because you do one going out and then one coming back on the cruise, and the first one out, I think it was the auditorium, it was about 3,000 people. It was quite big, and my guitarist said, I saw you smiling halfway through that show. And he said, and it just said it all to me, why you do this. And yeah, absolutely. You know, it's like seeing the kids out there, hearing them singing back to me and loving what we're doing. And I say, it's brilliant. You know, and I live for that moment. You know, it's got nothing to do with money for me, although it would be nice. But yeah, I just do. I love it, and as much as I want to get out there for personal reasons, it's for the fans. Mostly, it's for the fans. And like I say, I'm trying to find more places to go that are where I know we've got a good following, and just do small tours, which is great. Since I've become disabled, touring is much harder than it ever was, and it's the hardest job I've ever done, and so it's I've earned a reputation in my band is the fact that, you know, I am Sir Moan a lot, and because every time we got into a venue, there would be stairs, and wearing a prosthetic leg, going up and down stairs is one at a time, you know, one step at a time, and it absolutely kills me to do that. And so I would start moaning, and then I thought, well, hang on a second, there isn't a venue that I go into that hasn't got stairs. Even those that I can just truck in and out of have got stairs up to the stage. So it's like, what are you moaning for? So yeah, the actual physicality thing is a lot worse now. Can't say that. It's harder. It's not
a challenge. It's a challenge. Yeah.
Big challenge, and people's idea of disabled rooms and stuff vary. Yes, we've booked disabled rooms, and yes, you get there, but it's disabled access, which means you can just wheel yourself through the door. You know, it's not like I can wheel myself into the shower and stuff like that, because most hotels have got a bath, so you have to, you know, and try and get in a bath with one leg, it's nigh on impossible. So yeah, it's challenging, but you know, I can now I've done it a few times, I've got myself a small electric buggy that folds up to suitcase size, and that goes on the plane with me. I've got all sorts of handles and stuff like that I can stick on walls to get into the shower with, and all that sort of stuff. So it's you adapt and overcome. That's never entered my head, the fact that I felt sorry for myself when I was in Ecuador and they took my leg. It was just positivity, and I sit here thinking about it now. I can't believe I actually did that, you know, because it was like, right, what do? I had half an hour of good internet every day, of which I used half to stay in touch with my family, and the other half I spent trying to find out what I could do. And it was I learned to drive in the bed as well, because I found out that I could adapt a car with a left foot accelerator pedal, gas pedal, and so I learned to drive in bed, and then I found out about prosthetics and how that would benefit me. I did it all, and when I got back, I put it into action, and I think it was 6 months almost to the day that I got back up on stage and started singing again. So it was that determination and just like I say, adapt and overcome, and I've enjoyed it just as much, if not more, since I lost my leg than ever. I had to go to rehab, and I learned then how to walk in my prosthetic and and it was never a one-on-one session. It was always a group session, and the people that I saw and how they'd been, for want of a better phrase, hacked about, that was inspirational. I mean, I met a guy actually at the hospital that I got my new leg, called Jamie. He was 25, I think, and a bit late in life for him. He was being sought after by professional football clubs, and he was a scaffolder, and he was working on this scaffold. The few people had been laid off because it was coming up to Christmas, and there was a difficult job to do, and he tried to avoid doing this job, and it was basically putting steel sheeting over a roof, and it was very close to electric lines. Well, you can imagine what happened. He touched it, and I think he had, I can't remember what voltage he had through, but he lost all of his he lost his hands, he lost his feet. It also got him in the vocal cords. He had to learn to speak again. And the first time I went up there, I heard this guy laughing, and it was Jamie. When I got into the hospital, it was him. And I was just so blown away by his attitude that he was, what he was going to do was play football again. And I went, how the hell are you going to do that? But I mean, fortunately, he was below knee, so and that's a lot easier to learn to walk and do whatever else than having a full limb like me. But he gave me inspiration, and what a guy, what a guy. And I've always thought as well that there is always somebody worse off than you, and I've seen that so many times, and I've seen a lot of older guys and younger guys give up, and that's a sorry thing to see. So I'm still positive. I've never had a day that I regret what happened to me. I still, well, I suppose it's positive thinking, but it doesn't go that far with me either. It's just I've got it, I got dealt it, and this is how I cope with it.
I think sometimes looking backwards can be very detrimental.
Oh, definitely. It fries your brain, and the guys that I saw, I actually I didn't know I was doing it, but I counselled a woman in the hospital the prosthetics hospital. She was devastated that she'd lost her leg. I don't know how it happens, but she was totally devastated. And I said, you know what? You're lucky to be alive, and you've got to look at it this way. These prosthetics that they give you these days are not ugly at all, and you need to dress accordingly. I said, don't think that you're ugly by any stretch of the imagination. And I was told that after talking to her, that she embraced the whole thing and got on with it. So that kind of pleased me. And and I've talked to others about it, and I've been approached in my local town to speak to people as well. I guess I must have such a positive outlook on it that they want my positivity for other people. But to say I was seeing these guys just curl up and die, and it's a real sad thing to watch. Unfortunately, I ended up with PTSD, and not long after I got home and I was walking again, I lost my brother, and I went into the very darkest corners of hell, and I don't think I'm over that yet. I still suffer with PTSD, but on the bright side, I'm still doing what I want to do, and that says it all for me. I've got to carry on because I want to. I want to. I still want to get up on stage, and I still want to do those things. So I enjoy it, and I will do it until the time that my body says, "Look, you can't do this anymore." But I will still continue to do albums, possibly, and singing for other people. I would say probably eight times out of 10, I get the backing track first from the guitarist, and then I'll sit with it and start playing around with vocal ideas and stuff. And I always start with the chorus because that's the hook for me. And then what I do, I've got a long list of titles that I come up with. Titles that I've thought about, and I've written all those down, and then I put a story to it. So like this will surprise you. See You in Hell. That one, I didn't actually write that down, but I had the idea straight away. It's the story of Jesus being tempted by the devil, and that's basically the story. Yeah. But another interesting thing is that I actually wrote that on the dunny. I've had several, as you mentioned. I had one called Seven, and we started writing material for that. Well, we did actually, but we never put it to an album. And Lion's Heart, which was another one. I started that off with a pair of twins, and we came up with the first album, which did really well in Japan, and that went through several member changes. That's on the back burner because I'd like to do some more stuff with that. But what else have I done? You'd probably know better than me.
Well, there's the Sanity Days with the former members of Onslaught and that sort of thing. I know about that.
Oh, yeah. How could I? Yes, the Sanity Days. Oh, that was great, actually. I was always got on well with Steve Grice, drummer, and he phoned me up and said, "Look, I want to start this band called the Sanity Days, and we will do In Search of Sanity album and play that live, because Onslaught actually couldn't do that. And so we did that, and then came up with an album as well, did that and released it. But Al, the guitarist, he got bladder cancer, and basically that put the whole thing in well, on the back burner. I don't know. I think that, I can't remember how long ago that was, probably 5 years ago now at least. I don't know whether he will ever return to playing guitar, because I'd spoken to him, I suppose, I can't remember, it was about the last time I spoke to him. He said he hadn't picked up a guitar for 3 years, and it was just like, oh, that's a sad affair. But yeah, I don't think we'll do anything with that one. But yeah, it was that. Can't think of anything else. I've done so many different things as well. I've done. I've appeared on several tribute albums where you got a bunch of musicians, and we did 2 Iron Maiden albums, Nazareth, ZZ Top, and I did at least 2 tracks on every album. That was good fun. And no, I think that's it. Writing Grim Reaper album now, and I can't remember how long ago it was, 2019. It was just before, it was just before the pandemic hit us. I did a tour with the 3 Tremors.
Yes.
And I did that. And I got on really well with all the musicians. And basically, I'm writing the next Grim Reaper album with them. And phenomenal guitarist. And he's a great guy. The drummer is also phenomenal. But whether we get to tour with him is another thing. I got 2. I've got back in 1987, we did a thing called the Texas Jam, and it was in the Dallas Cowboys Stadium. It was 83,000 people. And there were so many memorable things. I mean, we got picked up in a limo, and the limo driver said, I'm going to go a different way this time because traffic's becoming a bit of a problem. So, right, fine, yeah, you know the area, And we kept looking out of the car thinking, we've just gone past Down Shore. And we did it again. It's like, driver, are we lost? He said, man, yeah. He said, I'm really sorry. And we were like getting close to needing to be getting changed to get on stage. And then we saw one of these little police houses that just got a police sign up outside. I said, look, go and ask him. Go and ask the guy. Fortunately, he was in, the local sheriff or whatever he was. And he came out and he said, sign these 2 albums for my boys and I will give you an escort all the way into the stadium. It's like, yeah, absolutely brilliant. And it couldn't have been any better because he got the sirens on and everything. And then we had just enough time to get into the dressing room, get changed and get on stage. It was that fast. And I'm glad in a way, because if I'd have seen the size of the audience before we went on, I'm not sure if I'd have managed it, because as it was, my mouth dried, my tongue stuck to my teeth and all that sort of stuff. But 83,000 people is absolutely amazing. So, yeah, that's one. And the second one was the first show we did in with Lion's Heart, we did in Tokyo, and at the Sun Plaza, I think it was. And we're there pretty much all day, and I started to forget the lyrics, and I just could not think about it. I started to panic, and I got everybody writing the songs on paper so I could take them out on stage with me. And then we went out onto the stage to an absolute eruption, and we started playing, and I could hear the crowd singing over the top of the music. It was stunning, absolutely stunning. I could have just put the microphone out to the crowd, and they could have, well, they did. They sang all night. It was something that I will never ever forget. That was great. There are memorable times for every show, but those two, I always remember. I only really watch TV in the evenings. If I'm not recording or doing work in my studio, I build and fly radio-controlled model airplanes, and that is a major passion for me. I've been doing that since I was a kid, really a young teenager, and I love it. It gives me great pleasure. I also, it's like a workout for my brain, and then when I go to the flying field, it's all the camaraderie as well, and the mic taking and all that sort of stuff. It's great, and I would miss it if I had to stop doing that too. Yeah, and I love that.